a few months ago we bought these heavily depreciated used Land Rovers, and the comments blew up saying, "You're so dumb for buying those, why would you buy those? Money heaps are nothing but trouble." And in this video we're giving you your 3-month update to find out whether or not you've been right or wrong and how much we spent.
No. Land Rover. Range Rover.
Okay.
Big difference.
Mr. Great Poupon over here at his Range Rover. But yeah, so we bought these cars very used. We've put quite a few miles on them. We've done a bunch of upgrades in my case. I'm going to talk you through the ownership.
Yeah, so with the Range Rover, we are kind of flying without a parachute because we don't have an extended warranty on it. In fact, the only thing that we have is our confidence in the brand, which you guys say is completely misplaced. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the comments, and certainly the comments on this video will be the same, they're going to be pretty negative because, of course, Land Rover has a reputation, but that's why we bought these two, and this is your 3-month update. Now, Dad, let's talk about your Range Rover here. This is a 2017 long wheelbase supercharged Range Rover.
Yeah, let me show you something. So we have the Monroney here, Tommy, and when this was new,
Yep.
this vehicle was $112,430.
And how much did you pay for it about 2 months ago?
We paid all in, I'm talking about taxes, about $47,000, 45 plus a couple grand in taxes.
Yeah, right. So less than half the vehicle's value in, what, 5 years, 6 years, something like that?
6 years. And best of all, it only had 47,000 miles when we bought it.
Yeah, and now it has 50,000.
Yes, we put them about 3,000 miles. And I think, I'm going to cut to the chase. I think the thing that you have to look for when buying one of these is impeccable maintenance.
Right. That's true. You want to find one from someone that has loved and cared for the vehicle, maintained it at the dealer, or maintained it on the intervals. Now look, we know what you're going to say. 3,000 miles, not a lot of miles. It really isn't, but this is just our first update, tell you what we like and dislike, and we've done some changes to this Range Rover. Let's talk about the wheels and tires.
Yeah, so the first thing we did was we swapped out both the wheels and the tires because we wanted to go with, you know, more of an all-terrain. And thanks to our friends at Falcon, these are the AT Trails, 3 peaks no rated, which is wonderful for Colorado. And they really changed the character because we've gone down from, I believe, what, 21s to 20s, which give you a little bit more sidewalls, which make this ride much cushier. And the reason we didn't go down any further was because the brakes are too big, because this is the supercharged long wheelbase model.
Yeah, and you know, this is something that I kind of learned after the fact we bought it. If you want to go to a smaller wheel, which is what you want for off-road, you really want to get like the 3-liter diesel. L405 is the code name for this vehicle, because then you can go to a smaller wheel, a fatter, larger tire, and still fit around the brakes. But you wanted the supercharged 500 horsepower goodness.
Well, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Come on, Tommy. Wouldn't you? Anyway, let's talk about, I'll give you the top 5 things I love about it first. And one of them is right back here. It's just the amount of stuff you can put in here. Plus, of course, this tailgate that you can sit on. It's really nice.
And of course the seats do fold flat. Now this is the long wheelbase, which gave you something like, what, 7 inches of additional rear seat room? Which is funny, Dad, because you don't take anyone in the back seat whatsoever, but it does give it that cool limousine-like appearance.
Yeah, plus, you know, I figure the more utility, the better. Now, that's number 5. Number 4, you're going to demonstrate, aren't you, Tommy?
I am, yeah.
Show them, Tommy.
Look at the leg room, first of all.
Okay.
It's like a little school bus back here, Dad. But I think you like this feature quite a bit.
Yeah, I love that. The soft closed doors. How cool is that? Now, that just screams luxury. And the problem, of course, with that is I always forget that they're soft closed, and then I slam it, and then I think to myself, oh, I should have just gently pushed it closed.
Yeah, right. Look, Dad, this is a very luxurious vehicle. This is a 6-year-old Range Rover, but it still feels very modern in here. The design is held up beautifully. It's aged like a fine wine, whereas some other vehicles from 2017 have aged like milk. Not this one. It's got a very modern aesthetic on the inside.
And speaking of modern aesthetic, Tommy, the number 3 thing that I love about this vehicle, and I know this is, hold on, let me do this right, come on. There we go, look at that. The number 3 thing I love about it is the color. I know white seems boring, but Range Rover calls this Fuji white. And there's something special about it. It's not like your typical refrigerator white. There's like this inner glow. It's just a really warm, really classy, really stylish white.
I call it Maytag white because it's a refrigerator white. There is no difference, Dad.
All right, shall we go on the inside?
Yeah, let's go on the inside.
All right, Tommy, we're working our way down the list of the things I love about this vehicle. So can I give you number 2?
Yeah, what you got there, Dad?
Number 2 is just how comfortable, and more importantly, just how secure and how everything is well with the world you feel when you get behind the wheel of this vehicle. It's like all of a sudden the outside world is its own thing and you're in this kind of cabin of comfort and security and luxury.
Yes, I think that's a fair assumption, a fair take you've made there, Dad. It really kind of is your own little luxury cocoon as you drive down the road.
And number 1, Tommy, has got to be right here. I'm going to start her up. It's all this, right? This vehicle is ultimately off-road worthy with not only automatic controls for when you go off-roading, for rock, for sand, for snow, but it has air suspension, which allows you to get much more ground height. And while people don't take Range Rovers off-road, they should, because these things are ultimately very capable off-road, and we will do more off-roading with it now that we've got our new Falcons.
Now, when we first bought this vehicle on the street tires, we took it to Moab, Utah. We ran baby lions back, the super steep and rigorous incline. We got this really steep descent into this large puddle. We were able to get some nice shots of this vehicle on its first off-road trail, and even on the street tires, the power, the grip, the low range, all were really surprising with this terrain response system. Well, Dad, you want to take it for a quick spin?
Yeah, let me take it for a quick spin, and while I do that, we can talk about the things I don't like about it. And let's start with this infotainment screen. It's just very slow and laggy. You know, it's like you hit it, there it goes. Look how long that took to change. And it's just, you know, it's like they did not quite, you know, have the processing power down to make this work. And this is just very frustrating. And especially with today, infotainment being such a huge component of the car, this is not ready for prime time. All right, number 4, Tommy, and this is just a me thing, but I like fat steering wheels, and this has this kind of elegantly small steering wheel, which is fine, but I wish it were kind of beefier and kind of, you know, had more girth to it, because when you're piloting a vehicle this big, you want to grab hold of something that, you know, this is sounding too sexual. I better just shut up.
Yeah, why don't we do an acceleration run, Dad, and see what the 500 horsepower supercharged 5-liter V8 is like.
All right, here we go. I'm just going to floor it. You ready?
Yep, ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, boys. Here we go. Virtually no turbo lag. Look at this thing just sprint. Oh, 8-speed automatic transmission, all 510 horses, compelling this thing beyond what a very long and very heavy vehicle should be capable of.
Dad, how do you have turbo lag if it's a supercharged engine?
All right, just a little bit of supercharged lag. That was very surprising, wasn't it? All right, shall we move on to number 3?
Sure, yeah. I mean, look, here's one thing I want to say about this engine, right? This is that supercharged V8 that Jaguar used in some of the R products. They got a lot of mileage out of this engine over a lot of years. In this tune, it's like 505 horsepower. It's pretty tame in terms of exhaust and sound. They definitely wanted to isolate you from the engine, but you get just a little bit of supercharger kind of sing when you're in the higher RPMs.
And speaking of, no, supercharger, sorry. Here's what I don't love about it. Andre, you can show them right there. It just switched 16.9 mpg, Tommy. This is like pickup truck territory.
Well, it's better than the LR3, which we'll talk about in a sec. And that's got 217 horsepower.
That's number 3, of course. Is there anything that you don't like about it before I give you my top 2?
Yeah, there's a couple things I don't like. It has 4-quarter air suspension, and it doesn't quite ride as soft as I would like it to. The LR3, which we'll find out in a moment, just floats. It's like riding on a waterbed. This is a little too sporty, especially considering this is a long wheelbase vehicle. Why would you want this to be sporty whatsoever? The 20-inch wheels and the Falcon tires have actually helped the ride out quite a bit with that fatter sidewall, let the tire do some of the damping, but it could be just a little bit softer for my liking.
All right, I'll give you my number 2, Tommy, and this is just a bit of a, you know, Roman thing. So we have heated and cooled seats. You turn them on by pushing the temperature knob, which is dual function. Oop, that's temperature. Push them on and you turn it right to turn on your heated seats. You turn them left to turn on your cooled seats. And it's kind of clever the way the little lights light up and show you where you're at. You also have a heated steering wheel right there. but compared to the German competition, this steering wheel and the seats just don't get hot enough quickly enough for my liking.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's a fair assessment. And I think the number one thing, Dad, that I really struggle with this vehicle, so this car we paid $45,000 before taxes and fees. And that's a heck of a deal compared to when it was new. But you know that when you go to sell this next year, it's going to be worth 35 grand. And then the year after that, it's going to be worth 25 grand. So even though it has depreciated quite a bit, there still is quite a bit left to go on this generation.
Yes, but that's my cunning plan, Tommy. I am doing this video so that people are convinced that these Land Rovers / Range Rovers aren't such horrible vehicles as they think they are, even though I don't think that we're going to be able to convince many people of that, at least looking at the comments so far.
All right, Dad, well, there you have it with the L405 2017 Range Rover. Let's go hop into mine, and we'll talk about what that's been like to live with.
Oh, Tommy, look at this. How wonderful is that? So you paid 10 times less for this than we did for this.
Yeah, and the story with this Land Rover is you and Andre actually bought this vehicle at a public auction, this really sketchy one in Denver, for $4,567, no service history. We didn't know much about it, except for the fact it had a clean title. And then I liked it so much, I immediately bought it from the company for $4,567. And then I immediately started putting money into it because I wanted to turn this into not only a daily driver, but something I could off-road on the weekends.
Well, the great thing about it was, not only was it cheap, but it was low mileage.
Yeah, so 68,000 miles when I bought this vehicle at the end of September. And in the last almost 3 months exactly, I've put 5,300 miles on it. So it's sitting at close to 73,000 miles now. And I have to say, Dad, this has been the single best vehicle I've ever owned. I love just about everything about it. And we'll talk about those in a sec. Now let's start with some of the things I did, Dad. Now first of all, from a design standpoint, you were kind enough to get me the headlight and taillight guards.
Which do nothing realistically but make the car look cool.
They do look very cool.
Yes.
And I also bought a new grille, or I should say a replacement grille, because the old one was very kind of worn. The clear coat was falling off.
And I noticed you didn't get the Land Rover badge yet.
It's because it's not an official Land Rover grille, and I can't find one to fit that, which has been a little frustrating. But Dad, there's a couple of big things I did to this vehicle. So almost immediately I decided I needed a few things to make this into a weekend off-road vehicle. I needed some protection, I needed tires, and I needed a recovery mechanism. So we'll start with that third one. Up front I have a Terra Firma hidden winch mount kit. Now I bought this through Lucky 8, none of this is sponsored, and that was about $1,100. That included a 12,000 pound Terra Firma winch. It's got a plate that mounts to the existing essentially crash bar mounts.
Did that include the pre-rusted bolts?
Yeah, this has been really disappointing. It's been on there for less than 2 months and it's already rusting on that fair lead, so really kind of poor quality with that hardware. But the winch is great, and Dad, I thought about doing like a big steel bumper, but I wanted this to kind of fly under the radar. So just the fair lead and the hook sticking out, it's a good look, and for $1,100 it's pretty affordable. Now I also went ahead and added these rock sliders, also Terra Firma. Now these were about $750 through Lucky 8. Bolt on, but really added some additional protection to the side of the vehicle because it's a pretty long off-roader and this is a very vulnerable area. So all in all, I wrote Lucky 8 a $1,900 check, and then another $850 to install that. And Devin's car care, who did the work, Dad, said that that winch was a real bear to install. It was really fiddly and the instructions were pretty poor. And then
what about the tires? Tell me about
tires. So we're running a set of BFG KO2 All-Terrains, my all-round go-to favorite tire, a 265/65. So originally this LR3 would have had a 28-inch tall tire. It now has a 31.6-inch tall tire. And I lifted it, Dad, in the coolest way. Should we talk about the lifting scenario?
I like the fact that it's 3 peaks snow rated.
Yeah, Dad, these are a great all-around tire. And look, here's what I've been balancing, right? Is this has been my daily driver for the last few months. So I didn't want to lift it too crazy. I didn't want to go too aggressive on the tread block because it spends 90% of its time on the road. But this has been a really cool little tool. This is the Gap 2D tool. And this is essentially a company that can change the internal settings of the vehicle. And these are really expensive. I was very kind. You gave me this one from the old LR3. I had to renew the license, which was $100. But with this tool, you can actually go in and lift the vehicle up to about 1.5 inches without changing anything. All the height settings still work.
So the easy way or the cheaper way to change the height would be to change these little rods inside the wheel wells that basically tell the vehicle where it's at the right height. You can
The right
change,
position.
You can change those out.
Yeah.
This is a much better way of doing it because you can set it exactly where you want it. And if, let's say, you get a flat tire or something goes wrong on the trail, what does that allow you to do?
Well, you can also bypass the ride position sensors.
Yeah.
If those fail, then the suspension just basically collapses. But you can manually inflate all 4 bags. So this is a really helpful tool. And the cool thing, like you said, Dad, I've got about a 25 millimeter lift on this. It's like, what's that, about an inch. But you can set by millimeter precision how high you want the vehicle to be lifted. And that's a really cool thing. So I thought that was a fun...
Plus it does a lot more too.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can change all sorts of internal settings and really program these vehicles to exactly how you want it to be.
Now, why don't you pop the hood, because there's something unique about this vehicle. Most LR3s came with a V8, but this was during the time when Ford owned Land Rover / Range Rover. So what did Ford put under the hood?
Well, they wanted to make a more affordable, more, quote, fuel-efficient version of the LR3. So for a very short period in the US, you could spec this vehicle with the 4-liter V6 from the Explorer. It makes like 217 horsepower, but it has to motivate 5,500 pounds of Land Rover. So it's not a speed demon, I'll put it to you that way.
I like this.
Yeah, it was missing the nuts on top of the engine base, so I kind of improvised
wing nuts up there, huh?
Yeah, but the engine runs great. It cruises fine at 80 miles an hour.
And look, here's the thing. If you're ever going to need parts for this, or you need to fix this engine, it's an Explorer engine, right? So
exactly.
It's not going to be hard to do as opposed to, V8 Range Rover / Land Rover engine is going to be much more expensive.
So here's the thing, Dad. Between the winch, the rock rails, if you include the price of the tires, all in about $9,100, $9,200. I got a steal on this vehicle from that public auction through you guys, which I was really appreciative of. There's a couple little sketchy things about it. Like the reason it went to this public auction is that they had replaced the dash at some point, but didn't replace the VIN sticker there. So the dealer auction, which the charity originally sent this to, was like, we're not touching it. We're going to send it to the seedy public auction.
Because in Florida, where apparently this happened,
yeah, they
added a sticker.
They put the VIN in the door, and they wanted nothing to do with it. I ran the Carfax, clean Carfax, not been stolen. But yeah, they were kind of sketched out about that, so that's why it went cheap.
Well, should we take it for a ride?
Let's go take it for a spin.
All right, Tommy, so you kind of gave us a whole bunch of things you like about it, but how about some things you don't like about it?
Well, there really isn't a whole lot, Dad. There's just a few things, which are partially the fault of the one we bought, Dad. Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
First thing I dislike, it's got manual headlights. This is the complete and absolute bean can. The no frills, no options version. I've never seen another one like this because people would want automatic headlights and they would want a nicer radio and some of the features that an SE gave you.
Yep.
But manual headlights is kind of a pain. This also has the complete cheapest radio, Dad. And what that means is that 99% of LR3s on the road have an auxiliary port located in the rear seat, which is kind of weird. This one doesn't have one at all. So it makes listening to music off my phone a little bit tricky.
So no Apple CarPlay?
No. No Apple CarPlay.
Auto. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I really dislike,
is the acceleration.
It's a little lethargic.
Yeah. It's not bad. I mean,
no, it's adequate.
It keeps up with traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think most people should probably go get the V8. Fuel economy's been pretty poor as well, Dad. 16 and a half. So it really doesn't do a lot better than the V8 and MPG. Now, things I do love, Dad, the comfort. So we took this on an over 1,200-mile road trip with my fiance and our family to Kansas, and I bet the comments would think we would never make it home. We're driving through super rural Kansas, and this thing just floats. I mean, this is the best SUV ride I've ever experienced, bar none. To this day, it is that comfortable. Would you agree, Dad?
Yeah, I think it's better than the Range Rover.
Yeah, I mean, it's not sporty. If you want to go tackle a canyon road, this is not the vehicle to do it in. But for everyday American driving, it is absolutely perfect.
You know what I love? I love these handles that kind of attach to the headrest, and that's because when I'm with my mom or your grandma, she always loves to hold on like this for some reason.
Yep.
And it's super annoying because she's always like, hey, poking me in the back, and this would solve that. It's a really clever design.
Yeah, and I like the captain's chairs too, with the command driving position where you sit up high. Look, I really struggle to find things I dislike with. 5,300 miles, no mechanical issues whatsoever. It's going into the shop Wednesday to do a full fluid change. Trans fluid, engine oil, diffs, all that's getting refreshed. But apart from that, it's super quiet, super comfortable, really good off-road. This also has terrain response, the very first vehicle to come equipped with terrain response. I really don't see a lot of downside here. And maybe that after we keep it 25, 30,000 miles, we'll find some reliability issues with it.
Well, I could see the commenters saying the elephant in the room is the air suspension, right?
Yeah.
On both of these cars, because inevitably it will fail. But how many miles on this one, and how old is it?
73,000 miles.
Yeah.
It's 2006, so we're going on 18 years, something like that.
And the air suspension
years?
works very well. We don't know if it was replaced at some point.
It was not.
It was
No,
not.
the
Okay.
airbags are date coded
Okay.
2005.
There you
Yep. Alex's LR3 has 150,000 miles, date coded 2004.
That's our videographer.
Yeah, our last one was an 06, date coded 2005 on the air springs. So look, they don't fail as often as the internet will have you think. Yeah, I mean, look, Dad, it's just such a great vehicle. I'm very grateful that you let me buy it from the company because I know you like this thing a lot too. It's been a great daily driver. It's a little cramped in the back seat for the size of the vehicle.
I'm actually very comfortable. I'm not bad. Except for the headrest poking my back, but we could erase that.
And look, compared to your Range Rover, Dad, this is not a luxury vehicle. Look, it's very plasticky and basic, but it's been awesome. So let's close this up and talk about our plans.
All right, Tommy, let's talk about our... Hey.
Yeah, doesn't soft close.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta
There you
put
go.
your arm into it.
Do it the proper way. So let's talk about our plans. I mean, the reason we bought these two vehicles was not only because we love the brand,
Sure.
which I think that's fair to say,
Yeah.
but we also want to disprove the internet, commenters that these vehicles are money pits, that they fail, and that, you're just buying a giant headache.
And look, we're only a few months in. We got a lot more adventures to do. I have no plans on selling this LF3. I really want this to be a long-term, like kind of our first long-term 50,000 mile or something update on the car.
Yeah.
So, but we'll let you know what breaks. I've been doing a ton of driving lately to commute back and forth to my fiance's house, so we'll know for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can be sure of is transparency is one of the core values that we have at TFL. So when something goes wrong, be it cheap or expensive, we'll let you know, but so far, so good.
Yeah, so far so good. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments section below.
Oh no, I know what they're gonna. They're just.
Yeah,
gonna
don't
say
tell
we're-
us what you think.
Yeah, we know you.
We don't actually care.
We know you. We think we're a bunch of idiots. Yada
Yes.
yada yada. We are well done.
We've seen your thoughts.